Let's stop talking, bro. Let's stop it. We're all pulling up a copy, whether it's handwritten, printed in a book, whatever. It's a copy of the actual primary. We're all pulling copies of the primary because none of us is doing that. Whether it's the Bible, Dead Sea, the actual primary text where you're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, the actual scrolls itself. That's the primary.
All right, Humble, you said you want to
So
read something.
once again, hold
yeah.
on. And Gideon never said the Bible itself is a primary text coming. He said it's a primary for the Israelites. It's the copy of the Israelites' documents that's given their history from their mouth, from their own mouths. That's exactly what Gideon is saying. Anything else that y'all talking about is irrelevant.
And Kasai, when you go to the actual primary, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls, from my understanding, there are discrepancies between that. And there are discrepancies between the actual historical primaries.
Non-sequitur.
So translation...
Dude, non-sequitur and incorrect. Anyway.
Translation has nothing to do with it. If I pull up the book, The Papyrus of Ani, what they're showing is the primary text, even though it is a picture. It is a primary text. That is how it appears.
Right. So we're not claiming we're carrying the wall with us.
Primary text, whether I can understand it or not. And someone who can read it can look at it and say, that does not say that, or that says that.
Okay,
the original language
primary text from the Bible, so all of this is irrelevant.
The original language does not appear in the King James Version of the Bible. You have to go outside of the Bible into some
to get the primary, right?
You still can, and once again, you still can get the primary text from the Bible. It's irrelevant.
No, all of this can't, because there is no primary language in the King James Bible. It is English. That's not the primary language.
Bro,
okay, so the book of Isaiah that was found with the dead. Oh, my bad. Homo said he wanted to read something too, bro. We need to stop talking over.
So this is very simple. So, is there any primary text of the Bible? Yes or no?
There is. Yes. Listen, my issue is not that there are not primary.
There's nothing else to be arguing about. Next,
hold on. So that's what I have to read. I got to get a Hebrew brothers their credibility. The Bible is a primary source for the Israelite kings. Yes. Now, it's not reliable. So it is a primary source for the Israelite kings. The issue with the primary text, though, are that they're shrouded with theology and ideologies. So they're not reliable.
Humble. Mm-hmm. That is, for one, that is incorrect. And for two, that's we say the same thing for Egypt. Everything, bro, you acting like Egypt history isn't marked up with their gods involved in it.
If there is no gods in Egypt,
hold on.
Can
bro,
you? Do you want to have a debate part 2? Are the Netaru gods?
Don't start.
Do you want to have a debate part 2? Are the Netaru gods?
Don't start with that God Netaru. None of that.
The Netaru are not gods.
When I say God, everyone understand what I mean. So once again.
Right, no. You can't put the Netaru in your own point of view.
The Egyptians' history is marked up with their gods. Facts.
The
deities or natures. They marked with deities or natures.
Not their gods.
It's shrouded in theology. And we caught them lying multiple times. Talking about they beat the Hittites. Bro, stop talking, bro.
So listen, if we ask Gemini or Chat GPT, are the Netaru gods, what is it gonna say?
They're gonna say
they deities or natures.
No, they're gonna say the Netaru are forces of nature.
No, they're gonna say they definitely looked at them as God. Kanum did
not.
They're not.
Hey, what is a force of nature?
Do it right now.
Define it.
Look it up. Look it up.
Is the Netaru gods?
They deified nature. They didn't make gods.
Define the force of nature. What is the force of nature in its definition?
Rain, wind. The
scripture do that.
Huh?
Hey, Kim,
the scripture do that.
I wouldn't even say deified though, because
the scripture do that.
I just Gemini'd it in this.
The scripture talks about the four elements and the principles behind it.
The short answer is yes, according to Gemini. If somebody else want to type it in to fact check me, go ahead.
Netaru walked this earth. And Netaru walked this earth and performed human functions. That's what Christians believe.
Acts is
Period.
the Neteru forces of nature.
See, there go that algorithmic questioning.
You're
No, we
talking
got to
about
show you how to correct
Well,
it.
hold on,
Humble
No,
Mystic's talking
because
about
we
principles,
have
said
the
principalities.
no. Like we did the first time.
who said forces of nature weren't God?
Hold on,
Because they
like we
will look
did
at
the
it like
first
that.
time. Hold
Watch them
on, like we did the first time.
anthropomorphize their God.
You gotta show that when you look at this culture from a Kemetic point of view, you don't get a Eurocentric answer.
God, at
Yeah,
all.
so exactly. So what was
So
there
when
for
you
this?
say
What
forces
was
of
there
nature,
for? Well, go ahead. My bad. My bad.
so when you say forces of nature, and you say the Neteru are forces of nature, right? The Neteru can be dealt with. They can be worked with. The Neteru aren't somewhere controlling things, doing stuff on their own. My eye is all around being balanced and justice.
I
Humble.
got you.
That's
The
not
only
a
thing
God.
I got a
I
question.
got you.
Who
The
is
only thing I would say is,
Anthropomorph.
what people call God today is the same thing that people were calling
But
Neterus, and
see, look,
Ilus, and
where that's
Elohims
flawed
in the
at,
ancient times.
look, where that's flawed at though, is you got to ask how the people of the time looked at it. They didn't look at it like a God. They
Well,
looked
it
at it like
wasn't no
forces
such
of
thing
nature.
as a
all that?
Can I
God.
get
That's
me?
the
Can I
point
get an
I'm making. It
example?
was no such
wait,
thing as a
let
God.
me
Strongest
finish.
example.
Let me finish. So
Go
that's
ahead.
why what you're saying is flawed if you're trying to say that it's a God, because they didn't have that concept. You forcing that on them. That's some
Happy was
modern
not the
shit.
different.
Okay,
Now,
Happy was the
can I
God
give
put
the
this
of
in our
the
strongest
God.
example?
Before the
The
color
strongest
brown was
example is
invented,
Ray.
we would call ourselves
Ho-
black.
ho-
And
ho-
that ain't forcing something on somebody just because brown is now a color that more accurately describes you.
Okay, now watch this. Here's the strongest. Here's the strongest example. Ray is literally the sun. They understood that that was a primordial force. So did they call it Ray? Yes. Right? Was it a god to them? No. They work with it. Yeah. They understood how it worked and how it made they understood all of that. Yeah. But it wasn't something out of reach for them. It wasn't
Now
something
watch this.
for them.
Now actually right behind the question where it told you yes. Now ask it, did they look at them like gods, or what did they look at it like? And I guarantee you it will not give you that.
It wasn't
I
no
please
such
have the floor.
thing as a God in that
Look,
time for them to even say that they didn't look at it like that. So
I just
what you're saying is flawed.
I want to read this from chat.
You breaking up, get in. You breaking up.
Oh, let's get in. Go ahead, buddy.
After this, can I have the floor, please?
Yeah.
The scripture is principles. It deals with principalities, like you're talking about the forces of nature. Scripture's already on that. Scripture's on that.
Who you think they got it from?
Gideon, you broke out. We can't hear you at all if you're trying to speak, Gideon.
Oh, okay.
I
can't.
would say they're one and the same, just different culture. That's all.
But what I did was
No.
So respectfully, y'all,
They was
Gideon
influenced
was
by
talking.
Kemet.
Can I be heard now?
Yeah,
get
put
in.
down, brother. Put down.
So I put in chat GPP. Did ancient Egyptians once believe the Egyptian gods once walked the earth? And they shot back to me, yes, they did. That's what I'm saying. But like, we didn't need chat GPT.
But you avoiding what we're telling you to ask though.
Interpretation. That's an interpretation.
See that the ancient Egyptians believed that these people was anthropomorphic. So that's the question you should ask.
That doesn't come from
Once walk
the
the
text
earth
don't say that.
and see what it say.
The text don't say
See,
that.
you leading it. That's why I've told you to just ask
The
it so I can
text
give you an
don't-
honest
the text
answer.
don't
You
say
Yeah,
leading it.
so yeah,
Ask
but you
them
keep
if they
asking a
once
non
walked the earth.
sequitur question.
The text don't say that.
You're
Gideon.
asking us to ask Chat GPT, did the committee you look at the netter and the netteru as a word that came out thousands of years later? How flawed is that, bro?
Bro, ChatGPT can correlate the meaning of the word, bro. Netaru
So
and has the same meaning, bro. We're not gonna do this
No, it doesn't.
etymological fallacy.
It does
It's
not.
crazy, but we
It
fight the
doesn't.
Arabs with this all
It
day.
doesn't.
Arabs says wasn't no slaves because the real slaves are Slavics. Like, come on, bro. We
It's
passed that.
crazy that we just showed y'all how you can correct it,
Gideon,
but you
It's
fighting it.
it's on
Gideon,
Shasad
you need
next,
to
and then I
Gideon, you
want to
need
go after Shasad.
Gideon, you need to understand that when they're talking about certain words, like such as the
Okay,
word,
but
such
no
as the
one
word
in that
slave.
A1
Hold
when he
on,
says,
let me talk. Let me talk.
Let him finish, Gideon.
Such as slave. That word is in dispute because it means more than one thing. So they think it means slave or servant, but the word is also used for the leader to mean majesty. It's used for husband, wife, man, and woman. So they're disputing that the word does not necessarily mean slave. It more so means
That's
servant
scary,
because they call high priest Hem
bro.
Netcher. They call the Nasut Hemeth, his majesty. So the word can't mean slave if it has all of those multitudes of meaning.
He
What it
said Slavic
really
though.
means.
He was talking about. He said Slav means slave, but
he don't
you got
see, he don't
distracted from
understand.
the original
No,
point
he mentioned
with
Kemet
with.
just now too. He mentioned
You
Kemet
don't
just now
understand.
too.
I heard exactly what he said, but you didn't.
All right. Well,
And
I
now you're
apologize,
trying to
but I'm not.
correct me,
I
but I
apologize
was.
then, A1.
Am I correct, Gideon?
You
If I
correct,
didn't
bro.
get what he
Like
said, I
I say,
I
apologize.
know. And then I
listen.
was like, okay, he got sidetracked by something that you wasn't even making the point, and is going
I
into a
apologize.
diatribe about it.
Because I showed
I
about that.
apologize. I
When I said
apologize.
Shasad was next, though, Shasad was next. I was just trying to get you back on point because you was responding to something he didn't say.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to correct you though, because I think what you said may have had some validity. But Shasad, and then I wanted to hop in after Shasad real quick.
Con. So I have I have a question first for the commissions, right? Can someone quickly explain to me what Amun Ray is, who it is, whatever?
I'm in Ray.
A moon
So
ray,
so look,
whatever you want to call it. Not no, you're
I
not gonna
got
Right.
you,
be
I'm
Kasai.
in
I
Right.
got you, Kasai.
no, I want the
And I'm
commission.
gonna be genuine with it. I'm gonna be genuine with it.
No, he pronounced his name correct though. I'm
I
on
Oh, it's
Ray.
want
Ray. I'm in
Yeah,
Ray.
I'm
Oh,
on Ray.
okay. It sounded funny to me. I'm used
I
to
want
hearing
the
So
Ray.
commission to answer. I'm
so
sorry, brother, you're not a
I know
commission.
I want to try and answer first to see if they would agree with me. That's kind of where I want to go. Um, if you don't mind, I don't want to be too rude. Do you want them to answer first? Because I wanted to challenge myself to see if they would agree with what I was going to answer you with.
Let's
Go ahead,
entertain it. Go
man.
ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
Okay,
You can go. Go
cool.
ahead, bro.
Okay, cool. I definitely realized too late that that was kind of rude the way that I was saying it. My apologies. But brother, when you understand that they could have a perception of these powers and forces of nature to the point that they could deify them themselves and start to add on to what they understood just the force to be, like you said, Amun Ray, that's when it would become what they deified. Or Atun, when it would when it would become what was the actual imagery of it. Am I correct in saying that? Any commission?
Um, um, um,
Uh,
I'm with you on
so
that, but
I'm
I'm with
on
you on that.
Ray. I'm on Ray is
Brother, you know, I'm with
a
you. That was too vague for me.
so
No, I'm
I'm
with
a,
you.
I'm a shorten it up. I'm gonna shorten it up. Amun Ray is a nature that was created by combining two natures in the new kingdom, in the middle new kingdom, right? So that's not an original nature. But Amun singularly just means the hidden one, right? The primordial potential, right? The unseen forces, right? And Ray is the sun, right? The solar power, the light.
Or
And
day,
so yeah. And so Amun Ray is just the union between the hidden source and the light.
right? And it also
So
means day as well.
be straight
Hold
up
on,
with
hold
me,
on.
humble. Is
Uh-huh.
that not deifying the fact that this man putting these forces together from their understanding?
Well, that
That's
was
not
later. Yeah. That was later with like the Greeks and the
okay.
Romans.
Cool.
That was later.
No matter what
No,
time it
I don't
was, as
want you
long
to
as
take
you
away
can
from the.
agree with that.
I don't want you,
No,
so
that was
the
later
hidden
because
force.
they have. That's later because they have different time periods.
No,
We
all right,
can
come on,
see.
come on,
We
come
don't
on, come
do
on,
what the Hebrews do, bro.
come
We
on.
don't
We here
say.
though. We here though. We here though. Let's
Okay,
not get
okay.
off track. Let's not get off track. Let's
All right,
not get
got
off
you. So
track.
yeah, that was later.
The hidden force behind the sun. So is this a god? Is it? What is it? It's not a god.
It represents the sun, and then they also personified it as a way to explain it. When you read the original creation text, which was, I think, from the pyramid text, it says that they are moisture, they are air. It says that in the text. And it tells you that all of these things came from Atum.
So this isn't an actual entity that the Egyptians thought was real.
No, they were worshiping. I gotta concede. I gotta be honest. Let me cam up when I say this.
Okay. Let me move
Y'all
on.
know
You
I'm
said
honest.
no.
I gotta concede to Khazad. During this time, they were worshiping them as gods. They had cults and stuff during this time. We gotta concede to that. This
What do we mean at
is
this
I
time?
I bet you seen that body bag.
What do we mean at this
we
time?
can't be. We can't see again. What would separate us from the Hebrews is we can't be disingenuous about our information. You see what I'm saying? So when we give you information, we
Hold
want
up.
you to understand.
I ain't seen me,
If I
Gideon,
can
or
finish,
Kasai be
finish off.
disingenuous with you either.
But the
If I can
text
No,
finish
I
tells
ain't
you
off.
talking
that
about the night. Y'all know what I mean. Time out. Hold on 1 second.
Hold on,
When
hold
I
on.
say that,
Come on. This
go ahead,
taking
Kazan.
long.
My bad. Go ahead,
Finish off.
Kazan.
I'm gonna pass the flow. Because
Go ahead,
Humble
go ahead,
know I'm walking them down. He know I'm walking y'all. I'm walking both of them down.
You see you bring it up that ass.
No.
So
They never thought that they were human beings. They never thought that.
I didn't
Because the
say nothing
text
about
tells
a
you they were
human being.
symbolic.
Look at you. I didn't
They
say nothing
never
about a
thought they
human
were-
being. Look at you.
They
Look
never
at
thought
you.
they
Never
were
said they
literal
was
neither.
human.
Can you share
He
my
asked was
They
their
screen?
never
God.
thought they were literal neither. The text don't
He
say
said
No,
he
he
never thought
asked
they
was
were
their
literal. None
God.
of
He
that.
didn't say was they
The
literal.
text don't
He
say that
asked
they
was
thought
their
they were
God.
literal beings. The text never said
No,
that.
he asked was they gods.
No. The word
So
He
didn't
asked
exist.
was
you hear
Amun-Re a
Jose?
God.
It's
No.
cool. It's
No.
cool. It's cool. It's cool. Humble, smart. Humble is smart enough
No,
to
there,
admit.
no,
I
there
know
is
I
no,
know
there
where
is
Look,
no
we
word
going with it,
hold on.
Kazan.
Let me come on. I'm trying to finish so I can pass the floor.
Go ahead, Kazan.
So Humble, he's smart enough to admit to know when he finna get walked down. Jose, on the other hand, he'll die being wrong. So as Humble admitted, he said, "Oh, maybe in this part, they did worship gods." I ain't trying to hear no in this part. The whole history of Egypt, they worshiping gods. Man,
I'm still saying no because the text said that
if I could just finish uninterrupted, please. If I could just finish uninterrupted. We up here, we have literally a primary. They like to talk about the primaries, a translation of the primary text right here from the poetical stele of Thutmose III. Right. When we look at this, his God is talking to him. His God said, "I told you to go and do stuff." But you up here talking
Where's
about they
the
never
medulla
saw
for
these
that?
entities. Can you please be quiet?
I want to see the medulla
Can
or
you
else it's not
please
a
be
primary.
quiet, Jose? I don't have to show you
No,
metadata.
I want you to show me the medulla.
I'm giving you a primary
I
source.
want
Please
you to
be
show me the
quiet. I don't
medulla.
care what you want.
But Jose, you need to let him finish and then you need to ask for that. You don't get to stop him and tell him he doesn't get to continue
cool.
and demand sources. Like that's
Okay,
very rude.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't care what you want. Thank you. And he always do this because he's always getting slapped up, as Gideon said. He's always getting slapped up. It says the final carved stela was found in the Karnak temple in the court to the north of the western hall of annals. So he talking about I want to see this and that. Look, I'm not gonna play with him. This is coming from a primary text. This is translated by a scholar. I'm not gonna play with him. It says speech of Amun-Re, Lord of the thrones of the two lands. You come to me in joy as seeing my beauty, my son, my champion, Marinkare, ever living. We read this stele. Y'all talking about, oh man, they didn't think these people was literal. So y'all, the sun is talking to them. The sun is talking. They thought the wind was talking to them. They thought the wind gave them victory. They thought the sun gave them victory. We have to stop playing. They literally have texts of them talking about the deity coming and visited me and all this stuff. Y'all know that, right? They literally like this. It's crazy. You try to talk about the history, it's not reliable. So that means all of Egypt history isn't reliable because his God said, "I gave you victory. Go do this and go do that." Right? It says, "I let you see your majesty as light, as Lord of light." so that you shone before them like in my likeness. I came to let you tread on those of Asia, to smite the Asian heads in retinue. I let them see your majesty clad in your panoply when you displayed your weapons on your chariot. I came to let you tread on eastern lands to crush the dwellers in the realm of God's land. That's crazy. But anyway, yeah. So now we're gonna remove all of Egypt history because they incorporate their deities and their entities all throughout their history and their text. And on top of that, you ain't gonna talk about the discretions about the Hittite wars and the battles of Karnak, how they say they won, but the Hittites say y'all didn't win, we won.
Right.
Talk about it.
Crazy.
Okay, so this is and this is why I'm smart enough to concede. You're right, brother Kassad. I'm smart enough to concede. Because when you understand the royal hymn that he's reading, it's a propaganda hymn, right? One thing we know that Kemet did do is exaggerate their victories, right? And so just like we see in the Bible, right, where God lead his people in a victory, Amun-Re, that this is a hymn to Amun-Re who let him in the battle. And like I said, during this time, hey, they was full. This is what they were doing. We can't deny that. You see
Did
what I'm
Jose
saying?
run?
But
Jose run?
but we have to understand that this was a specific time period. They wasn't always doing this in Kemet. That's the contention. Was they doing that here? I concede all day long. Was they always doing that? No. You see what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying?
Concede that's native Egyptian?
Native Egyptian?
Yeah, like that's not a foreigner. That's not no foreigner making something up. That's coming from a native Egyptian, a true Egyptian.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's coming from a true Egyptian.
You see that, Jose? You see how a person can be like, okay, I concede the point, but you just want to continue to walk down the dark alley, and I see you left because, yeah, he know that. That's like, man, it's just all about just owning to the information, bro. That's all.
Now, what I just did, right, is the same thing as when we call Yahweh El, right? And y'all try to act like that his name was never El, his name was always Yahweh. But then we show y'all, even in y'all text, that his name was once El. But y'all continue to sit there and say, his name wasn't El, his name was always Yahweh.
Can I respond to that? That's because you haven't showed that. What are you talking about? Oh, my bad. Hey, we skipped day one.
I've shown that.
I'm over here
times,
laughing
bro.
at y'all, man. Humble funny for that one.
So I ain't show you that. I ain't show you that God name was Elroy in the Bible.
Humble. No.
Look, that means he did skip me, man.
Let me cam up. Yo, he terrible, bro. He terrible.
Y'all niggas need to get this result show out the way. Y'all won't make me schedule this motherfucker. But okay, let me go ahead and share my screen, man. Where was I at? I put personified versus deified. Kemet Neteru, and then I put explain. Don't laugh at how I spelled explain. And I pulled this up because what's his name? Green Thumb. Where you at? How you say his name? Kim Netter. Yeah, he said he was using the word deified, but I didn't like deified. I kind of felt like it was more personified. So I typed this into Chat GPT and told it, I didn't give it a way to go. I just said personified versus deified, Kemet Neteru, explain. So it can give me what it thought. And then I double back and made it give me the sources along the way too. So if anybody tries to challenge this, we'll get into some of that. But it says in ancient Kemet religion that the Neteru were divine powers, beings, or principles that govern reality. The word Neter is often translated as God, but many scholars argue it is deeper than the modern Western idea of a God. The Neteru represented cosmic forces, natural laws, consciousness, morality, kingship, fertility, chaos, wisdom, death, and creation. The difference between personified and deified is very important when discussing the Neteru. Personified, to personify something means to give an abstract force or concept a human form, such as things like old man winter, stuff like that. Like this is the same stuff to explain the concept. We do it today in so many different ways. We got Mayat, we got Lady Justice. Nobody thinks that there's a blindfolded lady with a scale controlling justice. But like it's like y'all want to force this on the Kemet people.
So, A1, would you mind doing anthropomorphize versus personified? Because personification,
I love it. Let's do it.
just in that definition, from how I'm hearing it, it's already by default describing force.
You said anthropomorphic versus personified or versus deified?
Yes.
Personified. It might give you that pretty much the same thing.
I'm gonna pull it up right after I finish reading this one. I got you. I'm gonna hit enter on it. I'm not gonna read it all either. Like it gives a few examples. It says right here, Mayat represents truth, balance, justice, and cosmic order. Instead of treating order as just an invisible idea, the Kemetic priests portray Mayat as a goddess wearing an ostrich feather. The same way we portray old man winter so the kids can get it. I don't like we do the same thing in every form of every concept still to this day. But if people come 100 years from now, would they be arguing that we believe the Lady Justice? They're gonna look at the statues, they're in every courtroom. It's like I don't know. I mean, it's still a debate though. It's not. I can't prove it, but I'm leaning toward the idea being the same as how we use it today. I don't see why it would be any different. Ain't nothing new under the sun for it.
A1. So how do you interpret what Kasai read? How do you interpret that?
I was actually reading this stuff over here while he was going over his source, so I can't even comment on that. I was doing too much at the time. If he wants to pull it back up and explain it, though, I can try. Then let's get into the deified part, because it actually says a little bit of both. So it's not like it's just one-sided. It's not like I'm saying y'all are wrong. I feel like it's a mix of both. To deify something means to worship it as an actual divine being with agency, consciousness, and power. In Kemet, temples were built to the Neteru. Rituals and offerings were made. Hymns and prayers were spoken. Isn't that what he went over? He went over to him, right? Yeah. Okay. So I was hearing it, but I was still reading this a little bit. Priests believed the gods could intervene in human life. And I use gods loosely because it's still going to have to go back to Neteru, which are forces. So what you think the wind going to save you? You think the wind going to make the bullet move? I don't know. I don't know how deep it was. I can only speculate. Again, this was 2,500 years ago, 3,500 years ago. So the Neteru were not only metaphors to the ancient Egyptians, they were also treated as living divine intelligences. Like you can make that God if you want, but I think that's still a Western connotation that we're putting on this.
That's what I said.
I think we're looking at it through a Western lens, honestly.
If I may, really fast.
Go ahead.
We also, something else that we're missing is, like I said earlier, these, like, the Kemet evolved over time. You see what I'm saying? And so there was no one way throughout the period of Kemet that they were looked at. So when we see that, they were looked at as personified and we say it was looked at as deified, they became deified later when they started building the temples and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't like this is what they was doing all together throughout Kemet. It was a evolution of these things.
But see, like, for example, like they say, people would say they deified the soil. Like, no, what happened was they deified the water, which was the flood, Happy, however you want to pronounce it. So it's not the same as like saying it was a god just because they gave it a name. The Happy was the flood that they deified. That always
it wasn't, my brother. The Happy wasn't the Nile. Happy is the god of the Nile. If I'm not mistaken, I was just looking at
Happy literally is the Nile.
Okay, All right. Well, I think otherwise.
I'm trying to
I
tell
could be
them.
wrong.
Can I
Say
give
I'm
a
trying
something
to
little
real
tell
two
them.
quick.
pence
And
in
to the
this?
Hebrews point, it does say right here, to ancient Egyptians, symbolism and sacred reality were intertwined. So I mean that kind of goes against what the
Can
Team
I give
Kemet's
a little
saying.
2 pence into this?
Right after Chasad, Chasad was about to jump in and I stopped
Yeah.
him. So you after Chasad.
Yeah, because
Shout out Biggest Titan in the building.
what I wanna point out is a lot of times what the brothers will go to, bro, is try to go to like the a symbolic, like when they represent you, I mean symbolic text when they're using Ra some symbolically versus actually like acknowledging or talking about when the actual Egyptians themselves is actually talking about the actual God itself. Like that's where the disconnect comes from, because there's literal text where the Egyptians are talking about they're summoning the deity to them, and the deity come and talk to them and stuff. Like they're not talking about they just summoning the wind and the sun to come talk to them. Like they not saying that they seen the sun come and walk down and come talk to them.
Fact.
Let's stop. Hold on.
My smile make the sun come down and come talk to me. I know y'all don't remember that Lil Wayne song.
Go ahead.
My
Like
bad.
what they're doing, because we can use Yah in a metaphorical form too. Like, oh, we could say Yah formed me out the dust. That's not literal. He didn't literally pick me up and use hands and form me out the dust. We know I'm using hands and stuff in a symbolic way. Stop talking about when the Egyptians are talking about, oh yeah, Ra shined down and brought forth the crops. We know that in that instance, they talking about the literal sunlight and stuff shining and giving them the crops of the year. Well, we know in that instance, but there's literal text, and they actually know that these Egyptians actually thought these deities and stuff were real and really worshiped them. They sacrificed to them. Is laws, I wouldn't even say it's laws and stuff on them, because we don't actually have real laws from Egypt, but they worship literally the Apis bull so much it was given a king's burial. We can pull the burial chambers and stuff. You can't tell me they didn't think this stuff was real.
Mm-hmm. And so once again, right, during this time period that he was doing these things, most definitely.
But see,
what I
humble.
like to say is a lot of us like to get to the purest version of something. You know, I can speak for myself from my experience and what I do in my life, right? I try to get to the purest version of a teaching. And so I'm not going to stop at the base level, right? The top layer. So when we in regards to these gods, as I will call them as well, that's not the purest form of the Neteru. So when I talk about the Neteru, or when I have discussions about the Neteru, I like to talk about them in their purest form, right? Not what happened after everything that happened and they went through that intermediate periods and things was getting switched up and they was doing this and coaches came in and coaches went out, and okay, we understand that, you know, that's life, right? That's the collapse of civilization and things of those natures. We understand that, but we can't sit here and act like there wasn't a pure practice of this way of life without all of the intermingled politics, so to speak. And so when we speak about the Neteru, well, myself, let me start saying that. When I speak about the Neteru, I speak about them from that person's. I don't speak about them, and I will acknowledge these, but we would have to go into time periods, right? Like we was talking about Moses the third, right? What was society like then, right? They had all kind of cults and things of that nature going around, right? So we can't sit here and be like, oh no, that was the purest form, because we know they had intermediate periods. We know they had kings coming in and going out, things of that nature. So I mean, we can only be honest in what it say, right? What I say, do we ignore that? No, we just acknowledge it for what it is, right? A change happened, but that doesn't mean that that change is the best form of change. Just like you Hebrew Israelites don't look at the Christian ideology and say that's the best way to follow the Bible. I land my plane with that.
Biggest Titan, you next.
The brother that was just speaking, what's it? Humble Mystic. Sorry, what's the name again, brother?
You got it right.
Humble Mystic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Cool. I was just about to kind of object to something you were saying earlier, but I'm kind of in line with what you just literally said right now in regards of purest form. So when you're talking of the Netaru and you're saying nature and all of these things, are you talking of it in its like ground zero form?
So to speak. Give me 1 second, y'all.
Okay, while he is doing that, then let me read this while we wait on his answer. This is the last part of the thing that I read. It starts off like it's going with the Hebrew side, and then I feel like it ends off confirming what Team Kemet was saying. It says how Kemet often combine both. Ancient Kemet did not always separate philosophy from religion the way modern people do, which is exactly what the Hebrews are trying to break down right now. So I think that lends credit to their point. A neter could simultaneously be a natural force, a psychological principle, a cosmic law, a literal deity, a political symbol, or a spiritual intelligence. And I think Shasad actually just broke that down. He was like, we know when it says like the son of Ra came down, and brought forth life. That's literal.
Hassad,
or
Hassad was he was correct still in terms of the Netaru being deities, because such tradition and custom still survives in certain places in Africa, and they identify the same term, same wordplay as well. And these deities are based upon paternal ancestry. So each paternal ancestor, a living and the one that's gone. So right now, as I'm speaking, according to certain cultures in Africa, I'll be deemed as a Netaru and my predecessors. But the living soul of it would be within my son, even though somehow I'll still be classified it because I'm the leading role in my house. But the living soul of the ancestors would be the living soul of the Netaru or the Entoro would be within my son. So, and it's deified as well within the culture. So as much as it can do with nature, and when we speak of nature, it's to do with planetary bodies within this tradition, but it is to do with deities. It's not really negated. It is actually to do with deities.
There's 3 different views that it gives of this topic for modern debates. It says there's the symbolic view, the literal religious view, and the hybrid view, which I think is kind of where like most of the Team Kemet is on the hybrid view. It says today people interpret the Netaru differently, symbolic / psychological view. Some people see the Netaru as archetypes, energies, forces of nature, states of consciousness. This approach is similar to how some interpret mythology in psychology or esotericism. The literal religious view, which is what the Hebrews are saying they had, others and like there are people who have this view though, so it's not like they're wrong, but I don't think it's everybody. Others in modern Kemetic religion believe the Netaru are real spiritual beings. They can be prayed to and interacted with. Ancient rituals still carry sacred power today. I'm assuming that's what it's saying. Then we got the hybrid view, where people combine both. The Netaru are cosmic principles expressed through divine personalities, kind of like how we see the zodiacs, Old Man Winter, etc. That hybrid understanding is
astrology
actually
and all of that, right?
Yes, and it says that hybrid understanding is actually very close to how ancient Kemetic theology
Yeah, no,
operated.
but it's like both are correct though, if anything, because both can be found in ancient, like in Egypt, like all these practices could be found in the texts and on the walls of Egypt, and certain literature. So
And I think
it's
Gideon
correct.
was
It's
right about
correct.
that part because some of it was literal to them. So it's like we can't take it away, but they definitely believe the wind was literal. It's not like because they personified. I don't know. Did they think that the force was literal or that the deity was literal? That's what the debate is. That's something like that AI really can't tell us. We almost got to go back in time.
if 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 I can, the
Of
first
course, of
view
course.
was more of the what Jose, Kim Netter, and Humble was saying at first. They were saying it's only principle and
Yeah.
symbolic.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
You're right. I think I put them
That's
in the
what they were
hybrid, and
saying
they
at
shouldn't have
both.
first.
been there. Yeah.
Me, so I wasn't necessarily. I wasn't always. I didn't say the literal thing. I didn't. I literally just said we know when they're talking symbolically, when they're talking about the actual literal sun or something. We know that, but you have to admit when they're talking about literal. So it's more. So AI is really agreeing with me, and then Humble kind of jumped bandwagon and agreed with me, talking about a specific period. Now the part where I would disagree with Humble is you talking about that's not. It's not a specific period. That's the Egyptian culture. Because when you go in the Middle Kingdom, they still not sacrificing to these gods. They still don't think they gotta get past these gods in the afterlife and all this stuff. They still don't believe that. They still not saying they God conquer stuff.
And this why Chat GPT is still like fast food information because like I don't know about that stuff you just mentioned. So I would have to read about that to incorporate that into
Yeah,
how I'm
you know,
looking at this.
I just don't pull every single source. You know, I got
Mhm.
if I said it, I got the sources for it. I literally
Oh no, I
got
believe you. I
where they
believe. I don't
fall
think you can.
way.
I'm just saying like that actually would change the way that I look at it, knowing like being able to look at the rituals and how they practice because I really don't have that knowledge. I'm literally just going off of AI overview.
Yeah,
See, look,
But
it's
I did
my
have it
reason
pull up
for
some
not
Get
sources,
some
but
you got to grab one of these Egyptian
lexicons. Get
books
some
and
Egyptian
look, my
lexicons.
reason for not wanting to call them gods is because when you call them gods, that put a modern term with a modern definition that take it out of context. So when you're
mm,
talking about certain stuff in history, you got to put it in the context of what the people said at that time. So when you put stuff like a modern term on it, that can make some stuff anachronistic. So to not do that, you got to keep it in the context of what was said.
But in certain places in Africa, the word Neteru does mean like gods. It's like that's the only way you could translate it too.
I
So what
call
do
it
you do then?
arguing semantics, to be honest.
I don't think it's semantics. I think etymologically it matters. God is a
Because
Germanic word.
we
But
can
I think
keep
somebody
pushing,
even said it
Obviously, we're
from the
talking
Hebrews, like
English.
we can
they
make the
were
same
saying it earlier.
argument then, like that, but it defeat it is not really is no reason to really make that argument because people understand. We can sit here and say, oh, it's not God, it's El, or we can say it's not God, it's Ali, or it's Ale. We can make the same argument, but it defeat the person because when we say a God, we know that we're talking about the entity that these people, whether you want to say is a god, a net, or whatever. We're talking about the entity that these people prayed to, called upon, sacrificed to, whatever you want to say. We know that. So all of that is really just trying to argue a semantic point because no one is actually they're trying to go to the Germanic origin.
Well, would you agree that they thought the universe was their God? Or it's like because it's like the forces,
No, but where does that kind of belief come from with the
is
universe being God? Because this is not That's that like that belief system. I can't find it in some places in the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Akan. Like they don't worship the universe. Do you get it? So where does that belief come from?
and I don't necessarily think that the Egyptians see they're not going to say it like we're worshiping the universe. They're just going to personify all the aspects and the forces of nature. But that's what they're and then they're going to say that they're all parts of the whole. So it's like all the little guys made up one thing that they were believed in, which was the universe, the god of water, god of air, cosmic balance, Mayat, like and all the principles. When I read the Egyptian cosmology, that's what I get from it. But again, like I haven't seen the history of through all the dynasties, like what Josiah was breaking down. That I
But
think
that's why I
man,
say you got to read it in its context and the definitions of the words that they give for that time.
and I think that
A1.
does. I think that matters. I definitely do. Shout out, it's a queen. I just seen her in the chat. Peace.
Yo, A1.
Talk to me.
See my art. That means law, you know.
Balance.
It means law, but it doesn't just mean like something like to do with like cosmology and the universe, and that it can mean like literal, like normal law.
We got Tahuti to the panel. Tahuti, you want to add any thoughts or comments? Anything you've heard so far?
Hotep family. So, like the brother was saying, I don't know. Let me look. Somebody said it. Deity is also correct because when you break down deity, it comes from divine nature. Also, what you said was correct about everything was figurative and personified. So they're not real people. But Imhotep, he's a perfect example. He was deified long after his lifetime. And that would be an example of what was said earlier. So you're right on track. Everybody's right on track, but like we got to remember that when it comes in context, they're not, the Netzeru are not living people as in what the Hebrew Israelites want to say. They are living. We are the Netzeru, but in context to what was brought up earlier and months ago, they're not actual living literal people.
I don't know why y'all keep putting words in our mouth. When have you ever heard a Hebrew say your God is a person? If you heard me, I actually tried to pay respect and said divine entity, whatever. I never said it's a human who lived, died, breathed, ate. I never even said that.
Okay.
Y'all keep trying to say it's not a person. I never said it was a person.
Well, not specifically you, but the Hebrew camp in general.
Can be though.
Because it's
Now, Kassad, while you didn't say that, when you say literal, that is what literal implies. That they were people like us. At least to me, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but that is what it sounds like you're trying to say. If you're not saying that, then you can correct me if I'm wrong. Because to me, that's what literal means, like you and I.
Well, then you have your own definition of literal.
I'm asking you a question. I'm not arguing. I'm asking you, is that what you meant or not? If you didn't mean that, then I will apologize. But from my understanding, that is what literal, that's the definition of literal. Something that's tangible that you can touch. And the nature is not something that you can touch. As far as the concept.
Right.
I have a question, okay? Do y'all think that the Israelites thought their God was literal?
Well, yes. I think that there are Christians and Israelites who think that God is a literal entity living somewhere outside.
No, notice you asked Christians. I didn't ask you nothing about Christians. Okay. Now, do you think that the Israelites, now, yes, do you think that the Israelites thought that they could touch their God?
I think
I would argue that some of y'all, because some of y'all believe that the God became flesh through Jesus Christ, or with whatever name you want to give that person.
Please don't try to add nothing about none that I did not ask. I didn't ask you about nothing about the people, because I don't believe Jesus is God, and Israelites didn't believe Jesus is God. So once again,
my answer is yes.
They thought that they could touch YHWH.
I think that modern Israelites do think that, and I think
you want to throw the modern.
I think ancient Israelites thought that too. Yes.
Oh my! Yes. All right. If you think that, you well off, bro. I'm not going to throw insult, none of that. You well off, bro.
Okay, and that's fair. But we also have to understand.
It's cool. I'm going with the convo.
No, cool. I'm not cool. But here's what I'm going to say to you. We understand in African culture that some of these things that we call deities were literal people, such as Shango. We know he was a literal person. So we can't necessarily say that these beings were not literal ancestors who were deified. We can't prove that, but we can't disprove it based on the culture either. So I'll give a little point there that they may have been based on. Well, we know Imhotep was based on was an actual living person who was deified.
God is defined
We
as
know that.
immortal, immortal being. In the law it is written, "Ye are gods," because in terms of the scriptural breakdown, our mind, our consciousness, our awareness is immortal, and it is not limited to the laws of this world. It is bound to the laws of this world, but it is not limited to. We're just traveling through this experience, this mortal experience that we call life and death on earth. But in accordance to the scriptural testimony, we existed before the womb of our mother, we exist after the womb of our mother, and we exist after this flesh. So that makes us gods by definition.
Fair point. But when we go into a lot of the ancient Kemetic terms, we don't necessarily have a full understanding because they're simple, but they're complex too. You can't just put one word on these things, and when you read the text tell you it's complex to our thinking because we don't have our African sense of thinking. People like to take a
Even in
text who is in
hey Jose,
yes,
you see when you said African way of thinking, yeah.
yes.
The in certain regions where the word netaru and the understanding is still exist, the literal God understanding is actually till this day it's around. You know what I mean?
No,
So
I understand what you're saying,
so
but
it does. So you
I
are
don't have
making your
no.
point.
I understand what you're saying, but they're still making a separation between the primordial Neteru and us as Neteru. There's a big separation between the two. It's
Yeah,
not
like
the
Well, here's
same.
another
Plus,
thing. Here's
plus we
another
don't
thing
claim
as
what's
well.
myth to be. We don't claim what's myth to be real either. We understand like the
I'm not
difference.
saying they're real, you know. I'm just saying the understanding of it not just being spiritual, but as a physical being, it does exist.
No, I don't have a problem with that, but we still have to understand there's a separation still between the primordial Neteru and human as Neteru. They're not seen
Right.
they're not
Well,
seen the
here's
same
another
way.
one. Here's another one. You
Oh
got
yeah,
Ra,
and
right?
the Netaru is not called like the higher god in certain cultures is not a Netaru. That's like the lower. It's like the lowercase gods. Like the higher case god is not identified as a Netaru. Just to add that point in certain places in Africa. I just can't be
Okay,
bothered
yeah.
to stress it out where.
I'm not familiar with that, and I don't want to disagree with what you're saying. But I'm simply saying there is a distinction when you're talking about the primordial Neteru.
You know, no,
The
I hear you.
Nasut as a Neteru and us as Neteru, it's not. They don't necessarily equate in the Kemetic culture.
No, I get what you're saying, Jose, because you got rulers who actually died, who was living that became neters, and then you got
Yeah, but
neters
that's
that
a
was
royal
supposed to
netter.
be
That
a
would be
person.
deemed as a royal netter from the royal people. Like you would have a higher netter, which will be like the leading netter, and then you have the netters that follow that leading netter. That would be where the pharaoh would come from, or the king, or
Right,
whoever would come from.
right. But the king is
For
definitely
example, he would
considered
come from
among
like
the
Heru, or he will come from Set,
right.
and then the normal layman will probably come from Happy, or or some, you know what I mean?
I understand what you're trying to say,
Right. And
but we
and that would be the
understand.
distinction right there. That would be
But
the
we
Yeah, I think
distinction
so.
because when
right.
you have happy and when you have amen and then you have people like Amenhotep who was deified, there's the difference.
Because not laymen will have the laymen wouldn't be identified with Amen. That would be like a royal or high class of people. They will be identified with in certain regions anyway, in Egypt and Libya and Kush. But that Amen was associated with a high class of people. I can't negate it from the layman, but it was mostly associated with a royal class and like priests, and it weren't everyone was worshipping Amun and everyone wasn't worshiping Ra. Like it was a there was a class of people, and trust me, man, it wasn't as
Okay,
simple as it seems.
I can
Well, that's
understand
not
what
what
you're
we
saying,
saying.
but according to the creation text, all of us come from Atum, who later became a form of Ra, because the word Ramech means the tears of Ra. So we understand that we all come from this one cosmic being. The only difference is when the leader died, he was able to absorb the powers of all the natures. Humans couldn't do that. They'd be associated with Haru or Asar.
Who
He
would
was
you say
literally
Atum is?
absorbing. He would literally be absorbing eating their interests, absorbing their power. Literally
What is Atum,
becoming them.
Joseph?
Was
Say that
he a
again?
real person? Was Atum a real person?
No. We don't think
So
that
what
Atum
what
ever
is your
existed.
Okay,
understanding?
and
It's
therein
not
lies the
described that way.
answer.
It's not described that way, no. He's not described as a
Right. And that therein lies the answer.
So what's your understanding of Atum? How when you say we all came from the one source Atum, then he came into Ra, like what do you mean by that?
when they describe the original creator deity, he was known as Atum, and he came out of the Noon. And then he started to sneeze and masturbate and cry and create every
But
other.
you know when he masturbated his right hand, that's just talking about his missus. You do know
Say
that,
it again.
right?
Say it again.
When it's talking about him like having pleasure with his hand, like whatever you call it, masturbating,
Yeah,
it's
it's called a
talking
shadow.
about his missus, his right hand, his missus.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes,
not
yes.
literal.
Yes. No, I understand that.
His right hand is his mistress.
No,
And you do know
the
that
word is
Atum,
kaibet,
you do know
which is a
not in
feminine form
every
of the shadow.
tradition Atum did become Ray. Not in every tradition. You do know that he is separate from Ray in
No,
some traditions. I just need to stress that out
no.
too.
Atum was separate and later became syncretized with Ra or Ray. There's
He
no
just
argument with
said
that.
that. He literally
There's
just.
no argument with that.
But
You're
why? But
absolutely
why
correct.
though? But why? Why did he become linked with Ray? What is the wisdom and teaching behind it?
Well, I don't want to act like I don't want to say something wrong. I don't want
But
you
then, but you're
to say.
going, but
No, no, you're
you're
asking me
the
a
one
question. I don't want to
telling
sit up
us
and act
how
like
it
an
is,
expert.
and you've got people saying you're giving answers.
Right, but he was later syncretized with Ra because both of them had some representation of the sun. So they were both syncretized together at one point.